Well, what a week. Crazy stuff happening in the world of onlinery. Welcome. My name is Fat Guy Cross. I'll be your host as always. This is Campaign Terrain. This is my basement. You're welcome. If this is your first time here, always welcome. Glad to have you. If you've been here 100 times before, I'm glad to see you back. So tonight, I'm going to be making a bunch of bricks, and I'm going to start from the beginning by actually getting the device out because it's a process. You'll see why when I cut brick, blah, blah, blah. You'll see why when I cut bricks, it's a process. You'll see why what I have to go through to cut it. You'll see why I cut a bunch at once. That's what I was going to say. All right. So yeah, what a week. Welcome. I don't know if you heard me say that, but welcome. Glad to have you here. This is Campaign Terrain. I am your host, That Guy Cross, and this is the basement. This is what I do on the lives on Sundays. I sit and I craft and talk, and it's pretty chill. I don't necessarily finish a project. In fact, my last project took like 6 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that. So tonight, I'm going to be doing one thing over and over, maybe in different sizes, but I'm going to be cutting bricks and tiles if I get to the tiles. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to be using a specialized device. It is a hot wire cutting table. It is not the only way to do it. You could use knives. You could use bandsaw. I've done that. You could use an actual saw that can give you a texture that looks like rock on the side of your bricks. The teeth make a little texture indent on it. I am sorry. I stirred up all the dust or something, and I am coughing, and I apologize for that. So, yeah. Let me get into that. Let me pull my hair back, grab my hat, clip this microphone to the brim, and then I will start with getting the device out, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Give me just a second. I would say that that's going to be a little cooler because I'm about to put the hat on, which will make it hot again. I've got a fan blowing. It's crazy down here in the basement. It's not actually particularly warm, but once you move around and start doing all the stuff, I swept the floor right before and all of that. So yeah, it's always it's always an adventure down here. I'm having an adventure. Yeah, I'm grabbing my hat. That allows me to have the mic right here where y'all can hear me. And it keeps my hair out of my eyes so that I can craft more easily. All right, let's start with the device. The device that my brand that I have, and a lot of people recommend. People really love this brand. I am not one of them, but I think I got a lemon. When mine showed up, it had like 6 things wrong with it out of the box. The box was brand new from their website or their specific eBay thing. And I think I just got a lemon because I had to glue a part down. I had to rewire, physically open the box and reconnect a blade connector wire before it would even turn on. It's got an arm that you have to attach. It comes all folded down and you have to attach it. The arm didn't want to fit in the hole. I actually had to trim the hole out. That is not the typical experience. Everybody else I know, I've seen 20 or 30 videos on people setting it up and it's like, beep, 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 done. And I did not have that experience. When it's working, it works great. I tend to break the wire way more than most other people break the hot wire. I don't know if I'm just heavy-handed or if I'm cutting too fast or I'm cutting on too low a temperature and it's not getting through. Again, this is not typical. Your usership may be fine, but it comes highly recommended. And as what it is a fine machine. It's not my individual unit. It is called the Proxon something 35. It's got different names. One's based on European 220 volt. Is that right? 220? 240 volt. And mine is based on USA 120 volt. So they've got different numbers. Make sure you get the right one for your country, or if you've got the right adapter. Okay, so this is why it's a process for me, is I always have to turn around here, make sure anything else that's on my shelf here is not in my way, and grab the thing and pull it out. Now, it's not heavy, it's just cumbersome. You can't lift it by the arm because 2 reasons. One, that can change the angle of the arm, and then any measurements you've gotten attached to it will change. Plus, it's got the little tiny wire on it. If you grab it by the arm, it will snap the wire. It weighs more than the wire can handle. So what I do is I have a tendency to loosen this little thing and then put it in its little groove. There's a little groove to hold the wire. And I snug it down just a little. I don't know that you're supposed to do that. That may be why I'm breaking wires all the freaking time. But some people want it to be really tight and they pluck it and make it sound like a guitar string. Apparently, that's really bad. You're not supposed to do that. So it does not come with a foot pedal, which they do not call a foot pedal. They call a speed control or something like that. So you'll have to kind of look for that. It does cost extra for that. Get it. It's absolutely worth it. There is a competitor to Proxxon that's blue instead of green. It otherwise looks identical. That's called the Hercules. And the Hercules comes with a foot pedal, but that foot pedal only works with the Hercules. It's got a special plug back here. This one is really generic. If you have one that's generic that fits like a sewing machine and then just has a regular plug on the end, it'll work. So get the foot pedal. I will explain why in a moment. It also comes with an arm that's supposed to help you by setting the angles and all that. It is super flimsy and super wiggly, and I absolutely do not use it for its intended purpose. I have taped a piece here to hold it, and I use it to push things across. I have made sure that the end of this arm is just got clearance on that wire. So that way, if I'm pushing foam and I don't want it to bend, this keeps it rigid against the wire all the way across. I have been known to take this and lean it the wrong way and catch that wire like I'm showing you now, but you can't see. So just be careful of that if you do it this way. For the record, this guide is 11 millimeters, I believe is the correct measurement. And it is not tightening for me. There it goes. Okay, that's, I believe, 11 millimeters. I know that a Lego brick will fit right in this groove, but sometimes they're a little snug. So you have to sand a brick if you're doing it that way. So there's all sorts of things you can build. I said Lego, it doesn't have to be Lego, any plastic brick. Mine are mostly generic that you'll see in a second what I did with them. Why are you not behaving? There it goes. Okay. Put you back in your little groove. There we go. Okay. Now, if you tighten one of these, it won't move anymore. So you have to make sure that one's loose, but not so loose it falls out. Okay, where was I? So I made a wall for it, which I will show you. I'm going to switch to the other camera. When I do that, I have to turn on the lamp. And when I turn on the lamp, it'll blind this camera. So let me switch to the other camera first and then turn on the light. Anybody who's seen this before has heard me go through this process. Okay. So that is there. And there should be light now. Yep, there we go. Okay, now I had to move all this and adjust it because I was clearing off my tabletop so I could make room for this machine. Okay, so, we are gonna just have a night, aren't we? Okay, sorry about the wobble cam while I get everything adjusted. Once it's focused and pointed, it'll be fine. Okay, that should be good. Let me dust some stuff off here. Make sure my camera lens is dusted off. There we go. Okay. Oh, and I always forget. Please like, share, and subscribe. And if you enjoy anything you see or have any questions during the night, please comment down below. You can comment in the chat, but you can also comment down below. Hey, Mrs. Lynn, hello. Good to see you. I really like the comments down below because they drive the algorithm. I will get to YouTube and its algorithm in just a second. So please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment if you can. Okay. So what I was saying here is this piece is designed to fit this way and drive things through the wire, and you can adjust it like a compass isn't the right word. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, you can set the angle and a protractor. That's the word I was looking for. And you adjust the angle by loosening this knob, and then it will move to where you want it. And then the plastic piece will stay right where you want, but the metal piece will wobble all over the place. It's not sturdy. That's why it's taped on here. This piece will adjust a little piece in here, and that will hold it in rigid place into one of either of these two grooves. Like say you wanted to run something across this at 45, so you wanted this to be rigid and use that as the cut, you could do that. I don't want it to do that, so I have to leave it loose, otherwise it will tighten in the groove. So as you can see, well, you probably can't see, but there's a wire right there, and this is just barely missing it. Now, this wall I made is mostly real Lego brick, but I think I've got some generic bricks in here as well, Dollar Tree stuff or whatever. And they tend to be very square, so I have a very square upright wall. As you can see, the wire can get hot enough to kind of scorch, so I did melt some bricks. I'm not going to show you that because it's embarrassing, but I flipped some things around so it was smooth again, and then I just used double stick along here, all over the thing, to glue this, adhere this piece of MDF onto, and that has so far, knock wood, not warped. That's working for me. Now I'm going to be cutting some things tonight at, I know 10 millimeters where I'm starting, so let me go ahead and start that. Now the top of this is metric, and it only comes in metric no matter which country you get it in. So if you need it adjusted for inches, there are people where you can find online where you can get a sticker, take off the wire so it's not in your way, and you can lay the sticker on it if you really have to have inches. Me, I've just adapted to using millimeters and centimeters on this. So the wire is pretty close at the bottom to correct. So if you're cutting something thin, you don't have to really worry about the top part, except for if you run long strips, you'll probably want to flip the next one over so that way it corrects for itself. If you need it to be vertical, you can adjust that, and you can use anything like a square, and you can do that this way and this way to make sure it's accurate. So I'm actually going to do that because I'm cutting a little bit thicker stock tonight. So you don't want to adjust, oops, well, let me just slide the whole thing. There's a knob here that adjusts the tension of the wire, and there's a knob here that adjusts this block moving back and forth. You don't want to move the tension while you're trying to get it vertical, because that's just, it'll be inaccurate. So you want to use this piece, which sometimes is a little difficult because you have to sort of, I'm super right-handed, so I have to reach to the far side and adjust that. And I'm going to take that. It's pretty close, but not quite. I'm literally using this to slightly tap the thing into place. Okay, that is vertical. From what I call the front of the machine to the back. Vertical to here, I am just going to believe that it's close enough, because otherwise I have to adjust things with the arm and all that, and it's not really designed for that. So I'm just going to believe that that's vertical. Now, for the pieces you can get aftermarket like this, most of them have a slit in the middle where the wire will run, and that way you can actually get angles either toward, you can get, if the bar doesn't stick out far enough, so you can't go this way for an angled cut. You have to go that way. And so most of those have a block groove in here, and that way, as you move it, the wire can actually sit in that groove and not hit anything. I did not think that far ahead when I built this thing. Otherwise, I would have. I would have done that. Okay, so millimeters, or in this case, centimeters, because I want 10 mil. I want 10 by 5. I'm trying to decide how small I want my bricks. They are all going to end up being 5 millimeters thick, so that when I lay them down on flat things or glue them on as bricks, they can, they don't take up as much room, and it doesn't use up as much foam. So I think I'm going to do 1 centimeter. I'm not going to do any in 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters, it just makes a bigger brick, and I can show you those in a minute, but you'll see what I'm talking about pretty quick. So I'm going to make a bunch of 10 millimeter, what I call blanks, which is cutting down the foam in long strips at 10 millimeters. Now, I am cutting some things tonight that have already been cut by hand with a knife to get the machined surface off of the foam so that it's easier to put a texture in. And so they are not even. I am not that precise. So I am just going to start right in, and I'm going to take off that side that's lumpy bumpy and just deal with it. If you need it more precise, remember that you can always put this down to like 1 millimeter in here and take off, like just shave off that surface. But I was planning on building something else with those and did not think to do that or desire to do that. I honestly don't remember if I didn't think about it at the time or I didn't care at the time, because they were not for bricks originally, but now I'm cutting down essentially not waste foam, but from another project. As you can see, this is, well, maybe not see, but this is really loose and I don't want it like that. So to tension it, what you do is I'm going to hold the spool in place with my finger, loosen the knob that tightens it. I say that and then it won't come loose. Okay, now that that is loosened, I want to snug the little pulley or little spool till it's decent tension, not sagging and not like a guitar string. Then I'm going to hold it in place. Then as I tighten the knob back, it will put more tension on that because it will actually turn that spool microscopically just a little bit. So as you can hear, it does a little twang, but not like I'm trying to, play the honky tonk. Okay, so as I said, foot pedal, and I've got mine all wound up in one cord, so I've got one cable tie here. So I loosen that, don't drop it on the floor, picks up all the dust. Okay, then take that, and you want the entire thing as much as possible off the edge of the table. And as I said, this is American Standard plug. So I'm going to put this into a socket, which I need to turn on. And then I'm going to unplug my hot glue gun, because I don't need it tonight. And we are good to go. Now, why are we not on? Oh, right. Dirt, because I have a foot pedal. The light comes on only when it's powered on. The foot pedal completely cuts the power to it. So as you can see for a moment, the light comes on and it makes a little buzzing noise. I don't know if you can hear the buzzing noise, but if you have one, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't have one, don't worry. It does this little noise the entire time the hot wire's on. The hot wire is not necessarily on the whole time the light is on, because if the hot wire is hotter than the temperature you set it at, it shuts itself off and it keeps the heat. And when the heat drops down, it comes back on again. So I'm going to be adjusting this as I go for the temperature. 6 I know is way too much and 1 is way too little. So I'm going to start off at about a 3.5. That's literally halfway on the dial. If that's too much, I'll turn it down. If that's too little, I'll turn it back up. But put this on the floor. I have a concrete floor and this thing tries to skate away from me. So just be aware that I may have arguments with this in a minute as it tries to run away from my foot. Generally, it's well behaved. Oh no! Dropping stuff. The electric cord knocked some stuff over. Okay, come on, get out of my way. Okay, now get over here to a good, nope, not there. Like I said, gotta have a conversation with it. Gotta be friendly, or it's gotta be friendly. You don't gotta be friendly. It's supposed to do what you want. Okay, so we will take that, bring that over to about here. I like to leave a lot of space behind it because I cut and cut and cut and cut and then pick up everything that drops back here. If I could find just the right tray that was this height so that stuff could dump into it, I would probably do that. But so far I haven't, to be honest, I haven't bothered to do that. Okay, let me put my cable tie over here. And okay, you're in place. All my Legos have stuck together. Sometimes they try to come apart. I usually just say plastic brick instead of Lego, but I'm on a roll tonight. Not sponsored, but if Lego wants to sponsor me, you know where I'm at. Okay, That's ready to go. That's set to about 3.5. Let me go grab the foam, which I had ready the other night when I checked. There it is. I've got it. Okay. Now, these we're going to be standing stones. So I have a bunch that look like this. This one's actually been glued back together, so that's not going to be a good candidate because the hot wire cutter can go through the hot glue that's in there, but I'd rather just avoid that. So as you can see, these are lumpy and such. The ones that I hadn't even gotten cut to that point, but I still took that surface off of, I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, you can see that. They're not smooth, even edges. Alexi, hey, how you doing? And Sim Peasant, good to see you. Yeah, if I had just the right size cardboard box, I would do it. I just don't have the right size and not worried about it. I just pick them up, stick them in plastic jars to keep my bricks anyway. But thank you. Okay, now this one, the edge on the narrow side is still smooth, so that'll be an easy one, even though the fronts are not. But like I said, I am not that worried about these bricks being super hyper perfect. These are done by medieval utilitarian people in my little fantasy world, so they are not worried if they are perfect as long as the building is relatively straight. So I'm going to grab about 3 of these just to get started. Yeah. Put the others over there. As I said, I can use this to push those things through if I need to, but I shouldn't on these first batches. Now, the trick is I got to do math in my head and try to figure out if it's going to be more productive to cut 10 millimeter slabs this way or this way. So I don't know. If I do it this way, I got to find something metric to measure with. Okay, here we go. That is exactly close to 4.5 millimeters, just over. And this is 6 and something millimeters, almost 7. So if I cut this way, I'm going to get 6 slabs of 4. And if I cut this way, I'm going to get 4 slabs of 6. And it's not going to matter as long as I'm cutting a 10 millimeter. It'll only matter once I get down to the 5 millimeters. Alrighty. So actually, it does matter because there's more than half a centimeter left at the end, more than 5 mil left at the end. So if I cut it this way, I'll end up with another piece I can use as a 5 millimeter. There you go. So, Sim Peasant, have you not put anything out this week, or have I missed it somehow? I know you were doing all of those Dreamlight Valley quests for a while, but I haven't seen one in a while. Sim Peasant has a channel called, Sim Peasant, and plays super chilled games. So if you want to go watch somebody play super chill games, you'll give her channel a go. All right, so again, this is at 3.5 over here. I'm pushing the pedal, so let's see if I have it hot enough. Yeah, that's plenty hot. That's possibly a little too hot. Okay, and I learned a trick from Gerard Boom. Now, Gerard Boom makes aftermarket parts for this specific machine that will make it easier for you to do things more accurate. What do they call fences and that sort of thing? So, interesting. If you're interested in that, check out shiftinglands.com. Now, Gerard showed me a thing. This wire is never going to be vertical because I'm not perfect enough to get it vertical. So since I cut this way, and it either tilted just a little bit forward or just a little bit backward, what he suggests doing is flip it this way, and that way each one of them offsets itself, so you don't end up with it jacking you up in the end. Oh, I said I was going to turn that down and then didn't turn that down. I'm going to drop that from 3.5 to 3.25 in just a minute, and maybe even down to 3 after that. For y'all who don't know what I'm talking about dropping it down, I'm talking about there's a little power knob on here that's labeled 1 through 6, and every one of them is going to be a little different, and it's also based on your foam and the temperature the foam starts out at and how much humidity is on the foam, because that can actually cause it to be easier to cut or harder to cut. So all I can tell you is get close and then tweak it as you need to go. Okay, so I'm now at 3 1/4. That's better. All right, so hope y'all are in for a fun ride, because I'm going to be doing this for about another hour. I will at some point cut them the other direction and make them smaller. What? Craziness. Okay, so you've been working on Dreamlight Valley, but haven't put anything new. Need a break after a month straight. Yeah, you were putting like videos out all the time. Weren't you putting out like two a day at one point? Oh, I don't know if y'all can see that on the camera. There's smoke. I have a fan that's blowing, and I have plenty of ventilation area. I don't actually have a vent fan. This stuff's probably not good for me to breathe, but as long as I can't breathe it or can't smell it, I'm presuming that I'm not actually breathing it. I do have a fan blowing, and I'm watching the smoke go away. Once you've cut, if you keep your foot on the pedal, or if you've got the switch on, if you don't have a pedal, the smoke starts to come off because it clears the wire of extra goop. You were doing 1 a day? Yeah, it was a lot. Very impressive. If you go back and look at my videos, there were 52 in a row where I didn't miss a week, and I was doing them once a week. I can't even imagine doing a video once a day, especially since you weren't just doing like a Let's Play. You were actually editing down some of that, and I'm like, no, none for me, thanks. If I could afford an editor or found somebody who was like, I'll edit for you, I would put out videos at least once a week. But, I mean, I put out lives once a week, but I mean edited videos once a week. Now, the smaller ones can be used for other things, so obviously don't throw away your foam. Yeah, I was going hard. It was like full edited videos of up to, I think my longest video was 1 hour and 14 minutes or something like that. I may have had one even longer than that. And yeah, it's a lot. It kind of burned me out. I finished the 52, and then I had a couple more that I was like already sort of working on behind the scenes, and I finished those 2 out. And after that, I was just like, yeah, I'll see y'all in a while. And it was like months before I did another video, and I only think I did 2 or 3 more edited ones, and those were only because they were for a challenge. And yeah, it was a lot. Wow, this one's all kinds of wonky. I'm having to hold this one against the fence, which means this next one's going to cut at a definite angle. Yep, that's going to, whatever. Like I said, I'm not trying to be ultra super perfect. So I do recommend a breather on this, but with the way the smoke is going straight up and keep being caught by that fan, I can't smell this, and it's got a distinct smell. So if you are smelling it, definitely want a breather. If you're not smelling it, don't do what I do. Do what you think is safe. This is XPS. That's extruded polystyrene. Polystyrene. There are 2 brands of foam. One is called PIR, which is poly something. Anyway, it's literally cyanide. The fumes it puts out are literally cyanide. There's warnings on it when you buy it. There's like a sheet that's attached to it, and you don't cut it. Don't get anything hot near it. There's another one called PUR foam, which is polyurethane. It's also not happy to have heat with it. Plus, it doesn't like to cut through. It likes to just melt the globs. So don't cut either of those. Only the styrene. Now, you can use this styrene, which is like an insulation block, and it's solid. You can also use the white stuff with the little knobblies in it, and that is also styrene. Anything that you would look at and go, it's a styrofoam cup, is probably styrene. If it's an insulation product and you are not positive, just use a knife. So, I have a problem with YouTube. All of my videos, every single one of them, everything I have ever put out, because I don't want kids being exposed to chemicals and fumes and blades and heat and gluing themselves together and all of that, I have always marked my videos not for children. In 3 days' time, YouTube is changing their policy, and they will start to ask for your ID to prove that you're over 18 to watch a lot of adult video content. They don't mean adult like porn. They mean adult like for 18 and over. I don't know if my not for kids will be affected, since it is not in any way, shape, or form NSFW, and you can kind of opt for that. So I don't know if mine will suggest that. If you are a content creator, you've already given your ID to YouTube, and you shouldn't have any issue. They should already know you're over 18 if you're using the same account. If you are not a content creator, you very well may not have given them your ID before. If you haven't, you're basically doxing yourself to watch me cut foam. I would prefer you just don't. I know that would maybe cut into my numbers, but I don't approve of what they're doing, and they're doing it for all of the wrong reasons, and I just don't like it. I can't do anything about it, and I will continue to make videos. Just be aware, a week from tonight, you may have to show an ID to watch me do whatever I'm doing a week from tonight. In the meantime, I'm not going dark. I'm not going gray. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just expressing my discomfort with their methods, but it doesn't affect what I do on my end. It will only affect y'all out there in viewer land. So there you go. That's my whole rant. So, yep, still cutting at 10 millimeter. That's 1 centimeter. Really easy on this machine. As I said, it's got marks for that. I did not measure to see if it's exactly 100% correct, because the most it's going to be off is literally like 1/4 of a mil. And I am not going to be that specific when I'm making little foam houses. Because, well, after all these are made and said and done and made, I'm going to be putting them in a big jar with rocks and rattling it around to cut them into, to beat the corners into a more realistic, natural looking edge. So having precision on the edges of the bricks is literally not worth the effort. The stuff I'm going to do later will there's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now. It's been a long freaking week. That will take precedence. So I am not that worried about a 1/4 of a millimeter precision. I would like to think that I am just that spiffy a person that I'm like, ooh, it's 1/4 millimeter off. It's too much. And I am not. Now, part of me, in my heart of hearts, in my little engineer, programmer kind of thing, I want the precision. I want to do that. But it's literally, what's the word? When it's just not worth the effort. I can't remember the phrase. You have DDV? No, I do not. I do not play any video games pretty much at all. The only video game I play with any regularity is Unreal Tournament 2K4. I like to joke that the video game my favorite video game is Old Enough to Drink. I wonder if there's a way to reasonably get my microphone in my breather mask and not have it sound like I'm literally talking to you in a coffee can. I'm watching the smoke come up from this. I'm watching it be blown away from my face. I cannot smell it. So I'm not particularly worried about it, but I'm like, just to hedge the bets. On the other hand, if what takes me off this planet is crafting, yeah, I went happy. There's worse ways to go. I like this green foam better than the pink stuff. He died of the teal lung. Teal lung? Yeah, he had all this teal foam stuck in him. I can think of worse ways to go. Okay, now this is shaving a really narrow piece off the end. And so when I get to the end, I am going to twitch my hand around and do some strange stuff, and you will see me do that. I'm holding it as long as possible and then switching my thumb because, well, I don't want to put my thumb on a hot wire. I don't know if you remember, but it's called a hot wire. I have burned little white lines across my arm before, my hand before, for touching where I shouldn't have. So, okay, so that is a bunch of those. I really need a bunch of those. So I am not going to switch to the other direction yet. I'm going to grab some more of the other ones and keep going. Like I said, I warned y'all last week that it was going to be a little boring tonight. Okay, now some of these have weird holes and stuff in them. All I'm going to do is when I eventually get to where I cut those and those fall apart, I'll just discard them or put them in my rubble pile. I keep a lot of stuff in my rubble pile so I can use it later, because basically with this foam, none of it is waste, because you can always use it for another project, pretty much down to the fine sawdust grit level. But at that point, you need a bunch of it because you need to use it like basically the fine sawdust. So just know that all of these little strip pieces that I'm cutting off and all of that, those are all going to be in another box for use for things later. All right, what do we got? It was fun, but a lot of things. Do you have a DVB? No, I do not. Well, my stuff is marked not for kids, but it's perfectly okay for kids to watch for the most part. Yeah, if you, for people who don't know how YouTube works, if you mark your stuff as safe for kids, you cannot monetize it. I have no real intention of monetizing mine. I don't get enough viewership to hit their numbers anyway. If I suddenly had 10,000 viewers next month from some reason, like the right person mentions me and a bunch of people came over, I might consider it. I would warn all y'all before I did that. Right now, I've got a Patreon, I've got a Venmo, and I've got a Buy Me a Coffee. I think I may also have a coffee, but I'm not sure. I'd have to check that. So if you want to support the channel, great. I appreciate that and love that. But it will probably not be through YouTube sponsorships or YouTube, what's it called? AdSense. Google's AdSense on YouTube. So, yeah, here for a good time, not for a long time. That is exactly my view on the foam fumes. If the fumes take me out, yeah, all right. I deserve that. Okay, so, yeah, so YouTube, if you want to monetize ever, eventually, maybe in the future, your stuff has to be not for kids. If you mark it not for kids, that's probably going to require viewers to give their ID starting 3 days' time. So from my end, nothing's going to change. They already have my ID. I had to give it to them to set up the channel. From your end, you may or may not choose to do that. I know I already said this, but, All righty. Here for a good time, not a long time. That's it. That's it. I mean, if people who are... Okay, how do I word this? John Denver had an issue with a plane and a duck. We'll leave it at that. Oh, just snapped my wire. I think. Nope. Huh. No, I didn't. I don't know why I went doink. I guess it entered a hole and popped like a guitar string. Anyway, so he had an issue with a duck. But he had an issue with a duck in a quote-unquote experimental, that's the way it has to be licensed with the FAA, in an experimental aircraft that he had built. because he wanted to build it and he was flying it because he wanted to fly it. And people are like, oh, it's so tragic. And I'm like, he literally died doing something he was specifically wanting to do. There are worse ways to go. Plus, he went out at a time in his life when nobody was mad at him. Nobody was angry with him. Nothing, no scandals. Nobody trying to claim there was a scandal. Nothing. When he went, everybody was like, oh no, not, oh, well, serves him right. So people are like so upset because he went out, that way. And I'm like, I don't know. I used to know somebody who got on a super big health kick, and he had lost like 120 pounds and all this different stuff, and was super healthy. And one of his things he liked to do was bicycle. And he went mountain biking one day, not for the first time, but definitely for the last time. So you can guess what happened. And people are like, oh no. And I'm like, he loved mountain biking. I don't really see the issue here. But, oh, if you were ever worried that you were going to be too close and hurt your hand, you can, like this is going to cut in and then begin to cut in. And that is exactly 10.5 millimeter thick. If you are worried about it and you have a little more space than this, you can press the outside with the next block you're going to cut. In this case, there's not even room to do that. So there's literally a skin on that. You can see through that. I don't know if you can see through that with the light on it, but anyway, even that I put in the rubble bin because I can use it for different stuff. Okay, so that's me done babbling about YouTube and fumes. Yeah, my thing is I am a super duper broke, so I can only play free stuff, and I really don't have time. I'm doing this. I'm trying to find a real job, and I'm writing a role-playing game in the meantime. I keep thinking I'm going to have people help me, and I keep not being able to find people who can commit the time for different reasons. There's a lot of different reasons. I'm not mad at any of them. But I found somebody today, like 3 or 4 different people, that said that their game from start to finish, near as they could estimate, was approximately 30,000 hours of their own time. And each of them said, yeah, it's about how much I've spent on it. And I looked at mine and I'm like, I don't have anywhere near that. But I've only now gotten to where I've got all the background stuff cleared up to where I can start the nuts and bolts of actually writing it. So I probably have another 25,000 hours in it, especially if I can't get somebody to help me with it. So between writing a game, trying to get a job, trying to find online work that I can do from home, which is not really a job, but kind of a job, and my brain being all messed up, I'm not even going to go into that, but that just starts to be a pity party if I start to complain about that. Between all of that, I don't really have time to play more games. I barely play Unreal Tournament anymore. And for the record, I always play against bots. I don't like people. People cheat. Bots cheat too, but bots cheat the same way every time. People keep finding new and creative ways to cheat. And I don't need all that in my life. So I always play, it's not single person. It's technically multiplayer combat. It's just that all of the other players are bots when I play. I don't know if no, there still are Unreal Tournament servers that are not run by Unreal, that are run by third parties, but I do not even know how to get onto one of them or what any of them are called. As Jess knows, that's Sim Peasant, I do like Palia. I haven't even had the time to sit and concentrate on that. That uses too much time. I will sit down and be like, well, I'm just going to tend to my garden and then I'll be done. And 7 hours later, I'm like, oh, look, the sun's up. So I appreciate the enthusiasm, though. It's just not where I can spend my effort at this time, or my time at this time. My time at this effort? That doesn't make sense. I see the chat moving, so I will see what y'all are writing in just a minute. Let me flip this around and do one more run, and then I will look up again. Okay, now this one's kind of close, so I don't know if I can No, I won't be able to do it. I was going to try to show you by pressing another one against it, but this one's so close that I honestly can't do that. And for the record, a minute ago, yes, I came very close to burning my thumb. I did not actually do it, though. Wow, that is some tiny, thin slivers. Okay, let's see. All right. Oh, yeah, writing the game is fun for me, and I spend a lot of time on Discords talking to people about their games. So I spend time playing or talking about role-playing games, tabletop role-playing games. So the fun quotient, I got that. That's handled. I'm not, all work and no play. When your work is literally writing a thing for playing with, there's really no all work and no play moments. Man, that one's smooth like butter. Isn't there a song, I'm here for a good time, not a long time? I don't know why that's trying to sing in my head. I know the song, I ain't only nothing but a good time. Oh, but that's not the song I'm thinking of. I swear there's a song that says, I'm here for a good time, not a long time, but I do not remember exactly if that is true or not. So, what about y'all? Anybody else play tabletop role-playing games? I know that Mrs. Lynn does, but Mrs. Lynn is into the horror, so World of Darkness and that sort of thing. I know that Mrs. Lynn has also run games like the GM, or I guess World of Darkness calls it the Storyteller, and has made up their own house rules because Keith, damn it, Keith. Okay, here's a good example. This one's not going to be wide enough to get 2 more strips out of. So if you're worried about pushing your finger onto that and hitting that wire, which I am not, but if you are, you can always take another piece and run it along like that. And that way my thumb is well away from the wire. Again, I'm not worried about it, but I'm not saying you shouldn't be. You can certainly burn yourself on one of these. I have done it. Now this one, I've got the thing off. It only takes a few seconds for it to cool off, and I am taking that and running it behind it. It is more than 10 millimeters, so I am going to live on the edge and okay, yeah, that's too close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and turn the heat back on and back it right back out the way I came in. And we are going to take that one, that whole thing, that piece that's thin on the edge of it and all of it, we're just going to put all that in a rubble pile. Okay. Yep. Every GM who's GM'd for any length of time has a Keith and has their own Keith stories, but I don't think I've ever heard of anybody else who has a rule specifically so the other players can deal with Keith. I find that quite what's the word I'm looking for? Creative, I guess. That's not really the word I'm looking for. Problem solving. And I mean, I have plans for stuff like if a player's not there that week, you can do stuff where either you don't use their character or somebody would be allowed to run it. I've done things for if a player just suddenly stops showing up and doesn't bother to tell anybody why, how long I let their character stay in the game, or if somebody else is allowed to take over the character entirely and all that. I got rules for all that, but specifically so the other players don't have to deal with the problem child. I am. I don't have one of those. I mean, if I get to the point where I'm GMing again, I will probably adopt Mrs. Lynn's rule. It seems like it's a good idea. Not just a good idea, it's the law. Okay. I am heading rapidly towards 8 o'clock, but we're not there yet. So I am planning on going till somewhere after 8. Basically, I think what's going to happen is I am going to run out of... Oh, this is a perfect example. So we're going to take that and squish that there. I am going to run out of these squarer bricks. And when I get down to the ones that are already cut more like rocks on the end, I'm going to leave those for another time. So that's probably, judging by the fact I've got a couple more here on the... I've got two more here on the table. And two more in the box back there. That's probably going to be about 8:10, 8:15. And that should be a good for the evening. And like I said, even these little thin meshy pieces, these can be used for stuff, or you can turn them into sprue goo. Most sprues that people would use for sprue goo, that's a minis thing rather than the terrain side of things. If you know what sprue goo is, sprue goo works because the figures are made of styrene, that gray plastic that we all know and love from GW, and by know and love I mean hate, is styrene. That's why it melts down in the acetone, and the styrene strips will as well if you need to use them for that type of material. But you can get your own recycling on. I'm not telling you how to do it. I'm just saying, I'm just giving options. I'm sure Keith is making someone else's. Well, at least it's not bothering you. Okay, now a thing I have not mentioned. When I did mention partway, but not all of it. When this stuff comes straight from the factory, straight from the hardware store, or straight from the construction site dumpster, or straight off the side of the road, or wherever, this XPS foam has a really glossy surface on both sides. That's a machined side, and it's partly from the heat of forming the process of forming the stuff in the first place, and some of it is from an actual chemical surface that they put on it. It does not take texture as well, and in some of times it won't even take paint as well. So you probably want to cut that off in one way or the other. You can do that with one of these wire cutters or a knife, or you can sand it off or anything like that. You can also cover it with white glue, and then the white glue will stick, so it'll make it easier to hold paint or whatever. But if you need the texture in it, that's going to be harder to leave a texture. Now, if you're cutting these bricks into tiny little pieces, that's not really a big deal, because we're already going to texture these by putting them in a big box and rattling them around with some rocks, and it gets the lumpy bumpies built into them. And at that point, you can always just glue the glossy side down and never have to worry about painting over it or texturing over it. But what I'm doing here with this hot wire, it does not do it with a blade, but with a hot wire, it is putting a coat, it is sealing the surface of the two sides where the wire slides through. If you look here, you can sort of see that those have a sheen to them. And that is a bit harder than, say, a knife cut area. And like this would take my thumbnail easier than this one. I don't want to do that because I might end up putting one right where I don't want it. But unlike the factory surface, once you toss this in a jar with some rocks and bash all that texture into it, you're fine. It's fine. So some people think, oh, it's too glossed up or what? And no, you'll be fine. All good. So factory surface bad, hot wire surface fine. Are you wider? Yep. Okay, so we're going to take you again and put you like that. That little doink noise is the exact same sound it makes when the wire breaks, but it didn't. It went through a hole and pulled loose, and when it did that little jolt, and that is exactly what it looks like when you break the wire. But in this case, I did not break the wire. I simply went through this hole and it let loose and went this little gap right here, and it went joink, just like a guitar string when it went through. So yeah. This, like I said, this is my third to last one. When I finish the last one of these, of this particular cut, then I will be done for the night. I can cut more bricks next week if y'all want to be super almost ASMR as I do this. I really can't. I mean, I guess I could put the mic right by the wire, but but if y'all want to watch me cut these bricks into smaller bricks next week, I can do that. If you don't want to do that and that would bore you, I can find something else to do. I just literally last week, I got done with that farm stuff and was like, I have no idea what I'm going to do next. So we are cutting many, many, many bricks. For those of you who are playing along with the home game, I am not letting my foot off the pedal between my times of flipping this over. I'm just letting it go. Some people like to let it cool off. Like every run, they'll take their foot off the heat, off the go pedal, and let it cool off between each cut. Personally, from the little tiny bit I know of physics, heating, cooling is worse for it than just heating and leaving it hot for a while. But I could be totally wrong. Who knows? Bound to happen sooner or later. Thought I was wrong once, but I was mistaken. I know these jokes are older than your kids. These jokes are older than me. Grew up on the Three Stooges and other vaudeville acts. I'm old. Okay. This is more than 10 millimeters at one end, but definitely not at the other. I don't think I'm going to mess with that. I think I'm just going to put that straight into that other pile. All right, let me grab these last two squarish ones, and then I will be done for the evening. It is coming up on exactly 8 now. I got about a minute and a half. I am not quite done for the evening. I'm going to finish these up and then call it a night. This will probably take till about 8:10, and then I am done. Let me know either in the chat right now or in the comments below after the video. You have to refresh the page for that. But let me know if you want me to keep doing this next week or if you want me to do something else. If you want me to do something else, please make a suggestion because I really don't have any ongoing projects right now. All right. Oh, I forgot to ask. I always ask. Anybody working on crafting right now, or y'all just hanging out? I know that most of y'all tend to just be chilling when I do this, and that is perfectly good. I am okay with that. I do sometimes hang out. Okay, I do often hang out on my Discord live when I'm crafting, but I never announce that because usually I don't know I'm going to do it ahead of time. I just sort of go, oh, well, I'm already down here crafting. I may as well turn on the cameras. So if you ever catch me doing that, cool. I may start doing some of that and telling people ahead of time, but that would be specifically for my patrons. And I have not shown my patron notification today, so let me get to that in just a moment, but let me get these blocks cut first. I'm trying to think what I can do for Patreons only, because I don't really do anything for them. I appreciate the heck out of all of the love and support that they have given me, and I have nothing but love. But I also have literally nothing but love. I don't have anything special to give. I don't have patterns I can give out or anything like that. I tried making 2D patterns at one point and couldn't seem to get it right. I think I've got it figured out now, so I still got that making little dinghies video that I promised. God, it's been Oh, I was promising that before I ever did my first live. So obviously I'm a little behind on that. But I really don't know what to do for patrons otherwise, other than just be here without fail all the time. So I'm thinking of maybe doing some live stuff where it's literally just me hanging out live like I'm doing here, except on the Discord, and letting the patrons know ahead of time and putting that in the patron-only section of the Discord. By the way, the Discord is not a patron-only Discord. I do have plenty of free stuff that we do on Patreon, on Discord. The link to that is down below. And one of my patrons, Dungeon Matron, Lisa, is also has a pretty active Discord server, and the links to hers are down below as well. So let me get this last cut. I don't think I'm going to do another one after this. Nope, last cut. And then I'm going to show off my overhead camera with my patrons list on it. And let's do that. Oh, let me leave the heat on for a second. Let me get the last of that off of that wire. Okay, that's burned off of there. That's good. Okay, now I want to nope, not unplug, just turn it. So now I'm not heating the wire in any way, shape, or form. Let me switch to my overhead cam. Okay, so these are my patrons. Your name could be here. I would appreciate that, but you don't have to. No pressure. I'm still going to be coming and doing videos. Digital Calibrator comes over and helps me face-to-face here in the studio, and specifically has helped with both audio and visual. So if you can see it and hear it, much of the thanks goes to her. I've got Patrick Walter, who's been a longtime supporter. Really appreciate all the help that Patrick's thrown my way over the years. Dungeon Matron, that's Lisa. And Dungeon Matron has also helped with numerous things. Sent me plants, both faux and real, little bits of plants that can be used for crafting at the end of, once the craft is done, I'm putting on the landscaping. And also has sent me a microphone, which is what you're listening to me on now. So many thanks to Dungeon Matron. Solo Nick. Nick has 2 channels. One is Solo Nick. And on that one, he does stuff like this, mostly minis, painting, he does some spin art stuff, and he has used that type of flow. I want to say flow arts, but flow art sounds like juggling, but that kind of flow arts, the kind with the paint. He has done some for like in interesting colors to make it look like battle maps, stuff like that. So that's an interesting channel. He's got a second channel called Climbing Moss, and Climbing Moss is more when he goes out and about town and finds interesting things or talks about interesting things. He's been to Japan and Korea on a recent trip, and relatively recent trip, and has done videos about that. So yes, you might check out either Solinix. And then Mia Geeked. Mia has a Discord as well. I'm sorry I do not have the links down below. Mia Geeked also is a member of a group called Shadows of Arconia, and they do live RPG sessions in multiple genres. And she's on several of those, but not all of them. But also has a pretty active Discord as well, though I don't have the link to it down below. So if you're interested in seeing Mia's stuff, again, hit me up on my Discord, and I will send you a link to Mia's, or Mia's on my Discord, so you can ask her yourself. So yeah, that's everything for that. Let me turn this lamp off over here so that I don't blind y'all. That'll take just a second. And then I'm going to switch back to the front cam and say goodnight. First, I will check the chat and see if anybody says, okay, so Mrs. Lynn is just hanging out. Nobody else has answered, so that's fine. No worries. All right, so like I said, if you're interested in suggesting what to do next week, or if you specifically want me to do more of this next week, or if you specifically are like, no, don't do more of that, let me know. But if you say no and you'd like me to do something else, give me a suggestion as to what. You can do that in the down belows, or you can go to my Discord. Either one is fine. I'm pretty easily reachable. I respond way too often in my Discord. So yeah, I will definitely see it if you send it. And I think that's pretty much everything I had planned for the evening. Yeah, trying to think. There was something else I wanted to talk about. I talked about the YouTube thing that you may have to give your ID. And there was something else. Oh, well, whatever. Doesn't matter. I hope you've enjoyed this. This is pretty much what I do on the Sundays. I chill, I craft, I talk. This is Campaign Terrain. This is The Basement. I am your host, That Guy Cross. And you're welcome back anytime. If it's your first time, if it's your 100th time. Glad to have you here. We're all in this together. If you're into tabletop RPGs, if you're into the terrain for them, if you're into war games and terrain for them, etc., if you're into dioramas, if you are into dollhouses, if you're into miniatures for movies, if you're into anything where it's not full size, I'm glad to have you anytime, and I hope that this has been somewhat exciting to you. So, yeah, that's everything. So again, That Guy Cross, The Basement, Campaign Terrain, and I love you. And until next time, I wish you luck in your campaign, whether it's on the table or in real life. You have a great night. Hey, some peasant. I see you say that. Have a great night. Have a great night, Jess. And everybody else. Have a great night. Have a great night. Have a great night. We're going to go away now. Bye.